So we said truth-telling will be the hallmark of our leadership. And because we want everybody who works with us to fall in line with that culture of truth-telling, we will not encourage people to bear information that is not correct. We didn't bring you outside because we want to hear. We brought you outside because the people who are fixing our building for the very genesis did not do a good work. And the conference room is still leaking. That's why we are here. And I think I have an obligation to be truthful to you. I didn't bring you out here because of COVID. Before I call our colleague from the LRRRC, just a few issues. President Bouaka issued an executive order creating an office for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. The office was to some extent set up because the president named the head of the office. Since that action took place, there has been a national discourse as to what the public thinks about the action. The discourse also took international dimension. And of course, our national orator was pointed in expressing what she thinks about the process that has evolved so far. Based on all the conversations that we've listened to, the government decided to take a stance that will make the process to be evolving. So much so that our people will take ownership of a process that is supposed to bring closure to all the concerned about impunity after we fought a brutal civil war. So the executive order issued by the president establishing that office remains in force. But what we've chosen to do is to move a step further. And that is to accept that we need to be more consultative, we need to be more evolving to ensure that the people of Liberia and some of our external actors who are supposed to help to drive this process feel comfortable with this process. And because there is a sense of sincerity on what we want to achieve as a result of this process, it's not for politics, it's not for gimmicks. The government chose to have a listening ear. And so the decision has been taken that will reconstitute the structure that runs the office for the establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. And I want to state that this decision stems from our desire to ensure that the process leading to the establishment of the constitution of the actors in the office for the War and Economic Crimes Court is open, broad-based, and ensure public scrutiny. As a result of that, the President has announced a search and vetting committee that will include the following institutions: the Ministry of Justice as chair, a representative from the National Civil Society Council of Liberia, a national NGO that works on transitional justice, a representative from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, a representative from the United Nations, the Independent National Commission on Human Rights, the Liberian National Bar Association, the Interreligious Council of Liberia, and a representative from the African Union's mission to Liberia. The Search and Vetting Committee will, within 21 days after the establishment, which begins today, recommend to the President 3 candidates of proven integrity, knowledgeable of the Liberian Constitution and criminal law, and capable of working with the international community and the Liberian public in developing appropriate mechanisms, procedures, and processes attending the establishment of the Office for the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court. On Tuesday, August 6, 2024, the acting executive governor of the Central Bank of Liberia, Mr. Henry F. Samoa, brought to the attention of the Internal Audit Department a real-time gross settlement transaction from the Central Bank of Liberia to the International Bank of Liberia. The amount involved in the transaction is $961,777 United States dollars, intended for onward transfer to a beneficiary account at SRB. Acting Executive Governor Samoa commissioned an investigation into the transaction led by the Internal Audit Department and determined that the nature in which the transaction was initiated, authorized, and subsequently transferred could have defrauded the government of Liberia. It could have also brought the Central Bank of Liberia to a potential risk of repayment in the amount of $961,777. The internal audit investigated the procedures and controls surrounding the reversal of the transaction relating to the GAL revenue account and the associated risk. Based on the internal CBL investigation, the amount of $961,777 was processed without evidence of approval of senior management of the banking department of the journal entry ticket as required by the banking department manual. The intended beneficiary account established at the International Bank in 2018 has been credited to comparatively small amounts in the past. The General Auditing Commission, in its recent report of the CBL, captured the company that is said to have owned the account of being paid $55,000 without any evidence of any work performed. 3 staff of the banking department are currently in police detention on ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, the investigation continues, and the executive governor, Mr. Henry Samoa, has commissioned a full audit of the Central Bank's real-time gross settlement transaction to determine compliance with policies. The press and the Liberian people will be updated as more information becomes available regarding the investigation. At the Ministry of Information yesterday, we received a visiting delegation on the banner of the Media Foundation for West Africa. And they were accompanied by the head of the Center for Media Studies and Peace Building. Members of that delegation included Sulemani Ibrahima, who is the Executive Director for the Media Foundation, Raymond Aite, Program Manager of the same foundation, Professor Kwame Karikari, both member of the group, and Christopher Isigoso. They also include the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. And of course, they were brought forth by Malcolm Joseph. Discuss the media landscape in Nigeria. There are classification of different countries as far as the media is concerned. It's either the media is considered free, partially free, and not free at all. Nigeria is considered to be in the partially free category. One commitment I made to them as a Minister of Information, that we wanted to know all of the hurdles stopping us from being fully free. And that we assure them once we know those hurdles, if there's any legacy we want to leave behind, is to ensure that under our stewardship, Liberia gets elevated from that partially free status to a fully free society as far as the media and its operation is concerned. And because we take their visit to be very serious and important, at 4 o'clock today, I will leave them to meet with the President of the Executive Mansion. Proud to come in, we've been in Cabinet. We've intentionally taken the decision to now be very regular in holding Cabinet meetings so that we are able to look at what are the contending and attending issues that are evolving daily. So we decided to focus today's Cabinet on domestic revenue mobilization, with the LRRRC being the main actor. The LRRRC is on record that they have the capacity to ensure that our budget will reach in the billion. But there are contending action that we must take as a government to assist them achieve that. So we wanted them to drive us through, make a presentation of where they are, give us a picture of what they need, seek the endorsement of Cabinet. And once they get the endorsement and those steps are sanctioned, they assure that all that is required to ensure that the budget reaches that point will be achieved. The Cabinet also took time out to look at the issue of coordination, generally not just with the Association of Communication. There are instances where sometimes the temptation of fighting tough battles can lead to other agencies overshadowing or crossing over to the functions of other entities. As a responsible government, we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So the special presentation was meant to ensure the Cabinet agrees on a mechanism that ensures that we are working in a way, though complementing each other, but that keeps people disciplined in their lane. And in our opinion, it was a very successful Cabinet. It's still on. I had to be excused because of this press conference. The government's agency that is responsible for petroleum exploration and licensing in Liberia, which is the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, made some pronouncement. They announced the official launch of the 2024 licensing rounds for hydrocarbon exploration and development within our offshore basin. They have indicated that the rounds offer unique opportunities for international and domestic companies to engage in the exploration of 29 offshore blocks within Liberia, especially in the Harbour Basin, encompassing both deep offshore and shallow water blocks. according to the LRRRC, this round of exploration is designed to attract companies with the technical expertise and financial capacity to responsibly explore and develop these significant national resources. We'd just like to make a comment on one final issue. And the way I want to address this issue is to start with a number of rhetorical questions. If there are employees of the Ministry of Information, where else is that? They wake up in the morning, they insult the President Pro Tem. They insult the Speaker of the House of Representatives. They insult the Chief Justice and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court. But they are in public service. They are in a ministry. I guess someone somewhere is saying it's okay. Someone somewhere says it's freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Someone somewhere would think that because it is not them, then it's okay. But I'd like to remind everybody who's concerned about what is happening as to what the Civil Service Standing Order says with regards to the conduct of individuals who work in the public service. Especially Chapter 4, Section 4.22 of the Civil Service Standing Order. And it says, anyone working in the public service with conducts unbecoming of an employee in the public sector, as outlined in Chapter 4, Section 4.2 of the Standing Order, is qualified for dismissal. And for those of you who've been at the Information Ministry for long, there's a precedent here that I can remind you about. Little C was here as Minister of Information. I was one of his deputy ministers. The president at the time, President Stelly, dismissed me and appointed me as the acting Minister of Information. And just on account that Mr. C had been dismissed, an employee of this ministry sent him a nasty text message that I cannot read to you because of the insulting nature of it. As the acting Minister of Information, then, with reliance on the Civil Service Standing Order, I dismissed him. He reached out to the CSA and made a request for unlawful dismissal. The CSA conducted hearings. I shared with them the message he sent to the former minister. The CSA upheld the dismissal because it was an act unbecoming of the person in the public sector. Each of us got independent opinion. Our politics may be different. For somebody like me, I don't care about people's politics. Then you can ask the question here. I inherited the office of the Minister of Information. Everybody working in our office currently were brought here by my predecessors. One group brought by Aleti Ulreni, another group brought by Eugene. But they all stay in the office. Go and find out whether I have removed a single one of them because of a thought process that is not from the same party that I am. They stay there. People have come to me here day after day since I took over the ministry. This one was a civilian who was threatening people. This one was saying this. The other director that CDC put a drawing that is supposed to be removed. I have not removed one. All the directors are still directors, except for procurement, because the director there went to Maritime as the chief of staff to Mitola. So for that, it was a created vacancy that had to be filled. Every other place you got people, but there they have their political views. They got their right to affiliation. After work hour, they can even go to their party headquarters, whatever party they belong to. The only restriction is the entity is not a acceptable that somebody in the public sector can conduct themselves in a certain way because the law requires that when you do that which is considered act unbecoming of a person in the public sector, there are repercussions. CSA has briefed us that the individuals involved had the necessary actions that are required by the law. Some of them have gotten warning letters before and encouraged to have their political view but not to be openly insulting leaders. They chose not to listen. And rather than us politicizing these things, there's always remedy under the law. The law says if somebody in the public sector is dismissed, and you feel that it's a wrongful dismissal or illegal dismissal, it says make a formal complaint that you were unlawfully dismissed. The necessary due processes will take place. And if it is determined that you were unlawfully, there have been instances where I got a letter here now about somebody who was dismissed in the last 6 years. The CSA has determined that the person was wrongfully dismissed, and they've written it and reinstated. In that case, it's the law. And I respect the law. So when people disagree with action against them, take solace in the law and not being unnecessary threats. In fact, it will interest you to know that, for example, the letter in my hand was written January 29, 2020, dismissing a public servant would be the same as you violated Chapter 4, Section 2.2 of the Standing Order. And guess what the reason was? Based on your constant involvement in spreading insults and threats at public officials via social media. So that is it. And some of the things that the people who've been dismissed now for are dismissed for is not what the person did. The records are there, we all see it, but it happened. I asked both the MCC and CSA, and we got none that they're willing to give to you. They did a scrupulous job before they took their action. These are the insulting social media activities of the individuals who are involved. Insulting the president. Terrible women causing ugly. Insulting his wife. That's not politics. That's not freedom of speech. You didn't jump from the sky and take an action. It's evidence-based. If there are people who feel aggrieved, follow what the law says. When file a complaint for unlawful dismissal, the system will give you a chance to exonerate yourself. I think these are the issues I wanted to talk about. And I would now like to invite Mr. Worzie from the LRRRC who will speak to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the management of LRRRC, we are very much honored and grateful to the Maker family for affording us this platform that we can use this time to discuss and inform the public about program plan for tomorrow that is bordered around a high level informative discussions and dialogue on the influx of Burkinabe's within our borders. The upcoming event scheduled for tomorrow is a one-day national stakeholder dialogue on the influx of Burkinabe's in 6 of the 15 counties in Liberia. The history of Burkinabe's in our country can be traced far back to 2016-17. In 2016-17, assessment was done during the last administration of former President Eddie Johnson Sirleaf, and were informed that we have Burkina Bees in our borders, to be precise, in the Grand Gine, Worzie, all of Maryland. That number, and the people are concerned based on our mandate. The UNHCR, the LRRRC, the IOM, the Immigration Services, in August 2022, had a field visit to assess and verify the information. At the end of that meeting, recommendations for that fact-finding missions was recommended at the national level and also discussed at the regional level. Based on the information and follow-up, in November 2022, the Ministry of Information uses its platform to allow us to talk about this information at the time. As a result of that, we agreed on a joint mission to visit the project locations and to have an interaction with cross-sections of our brothers and sisters called Burkina Bees. They were interested to know that at the end of the day, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Immigration Services, the UNHCR, and the IOM conducted a rapid assessment, and it was confirmed that in 2022 of November, there were 40,000 Burkina Bees within our borders. To be precise, in Grand Gine, Worzie, Maryland, and Liberia County. Within the counties, there be a concern. Based on that report that was spearheaded by the UNHCR and the LRRRC, it was reported that in Worzie, there were 5,800 plus Burkina Bees, women, children, and young people in that part of the country. In Maryland, we had 2,500 plus. In Grand Gine, 3,000. And in Liberia County, we had 8,700. A total of 40,000 plus. The information is border security information of border security information offices of the Superintendent of the Commissioner of the County, LRRRC. So based on the information, our administrator inherited this information and we decided to follow up on the value issues. In the Southeast, the LRRRC runs a program called Durable Solution for former Aruba refugees who opted for local integration. It means that I cannot go back home. I have decided to stay in Liberia because I'm a citizen or the resident holders. And because this government has signed and ratified those instruments, the government of Liberia at the time developed a 3 years local integration program that allow us to establish and build structures and services available for those who opted for integration. Today, we have a 2,000 plus former Ivorian refugees who are now integrated within the local part of Liberia. Today, we are saying to you, we also have 40,000 plus Burkina Bees who also live within the areas. The present influx of returnees coming in as returnees from Ghana, they are also within the areas. We also have our brothers and sisters who are vulnerable, the deprived, the excluded, and the vulnerable people also living in that part of Liberia. We are concerned about protection and cultural clash as we move on. So as a government, we start to elevate the composition. Further for us, on June 20th, 2024, we had a World Refugee Day, and there were cross-section of refugees who made a case. The refugee program was clarified by the Master's Chair on Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement, Honorable Mary Washington, Mary Johnson, and also Honorable Nathaniel Williams, Anthony Williams, excuse me, who agreed that, okay, we'll look into this matter and we'll follow up to the letter. At the upper house, the House State Committee on Refugee and Repatriation, Peter Donkey, and Honorable Pehe, Johnny Pehe, stood at representation on one of the teams that visited the corridors for a week. We have a mission in the corridor. We're going to assess and have dialogue in the first session of Burkina Faso along the areas. At the end of the exercise, we get to understand that there was a leadership structure, Burkina Faso leadership structure. They had their own country, they had their own governor, they had the Women Association. They far to reach areas. We were in Gray in Nima County, from Gray to the border, probably. It's a 5-hour drive, like 2 minutes away from the South Star River into Cote d'Ivoire. We spoke to almost hundreds of Burkina Faso, just the leadership, women and children who are vulnerable. There are concerns. We have meeting in Toaster also, we have similar concerns. We're in PTP, in Zeju, Little Westgate, similar concerns. Our last bus stop was at the Primo City Hall. We have a mass meeting, and it turned to a clash because our refugees who have integrated, who are going, and are also Burkina Faso who are saying, oh, this is our territory and this is our territory. Well, we hammer that up, and our concern is that there are two groups of Burkina Faso we are looking at. There are those who left the war in the north, in Burkina Faso, and are seeking refuge to feed our borders. And there are those who are from the Cote d'Ivoire, are crossed into Liberia, they are economic migrants, doing business, they are farmers. Whether you are a farmer or you are asylum seekers, we are concerned about international protection because this government has signed and ratified international instruments. The LRRRC as a lead agency has an obligation to ensure that our records as a government are clear to enable us access other development opportunities, because once we are in red, it creates as a obstacles to access other international fundings. This meeting, and why we are here for today, is to use the platform to inform the Liberian people that after technical meetings and back-to-back discussion with our partners, on tomorrow, Friday, we'll be having a national stakeholder dialogue to discuss some of the concerns. The dialogue is concerned about what can we do to document the influx of population, to identify if there are asylum seekers or economic migrants, and what kind of protection assistance can we give them. We are also concerned to identify the vulnerable protections needs that are need to be ultimately addressed for our POCs, our questions of concern. There are risks associated with undocumented people. It will be social, it will be economic, but our concern now is to see what can we do to help us address some of the issues. How can we ensure that our people have access to the economic-free movement, the asylum regime, and economic migrant or mixed migration, or the POCs. We have come to inform you, members of the food estate and the public, that on tomorrow, we'll be having this dialogue to look at 3 issues. Our focus is about the risks involved. There are social risks involved, protection risks, and security risks. The illegal entry into our country, the issue of freedom of movement, the issue of constraining arresting people in our borders, and the forced detention, the issue of health implications for the women and children that are associated with them. Criminals will made their way through and use them for other purposes. Unidentified individuals residing in our forests, in our cocoa belt, they are engaged in production, and that cocoa, because of the way they produce and distribute and sell our country cocoa across the border, is not in line with best practices. So to some extent, the EU have a concern about the issue of production and sale of cocoa in Liberia. That's a concern for us also as a country. It helps to stigmatize us and put in a different mode. There are vulnerable women and children who don't have access to safe water, medical assistance shelters, and they're all living in the bushes, we have a concern. Therefore, tomorrow's program, we intend to bring on board all the key items, the movers, the shakers, the influencers, our development partners, the NGOs, the RNGOs, the one UN family, the intellectuals, our other ministry agency representatives based on the sector and thematic areas. Okay, elevate discussion and will help us inform us as to how do we prepare a comprehensive report for decision making. Having said that, I want to quickly introduce Mr. Huff. Mr. Huff is the Deputy Director for Operations, who will explain to you the details as it relates to tomorrow's program. Mr. Huff, please.
So he is the director, executive director of the Liberia Repatriation, Repatriation, Liberia.
Good afternoon, members of the 4th Estate, Liberians in radio and television land, on the social media. Good afternoon, honorable ministers, Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. We are happy to be here at NICA Press Briefing. It gave us the opportunity to voice out our platform under the One Government, One Communication, One Platform, One Message, as President Bouaka has initiated. Like the Director of LRRRC on Repatriation, Worzie, has said, tomorrow's program will be at the Pinzo City Hall. It will start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it will run up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. There are 5 cardinal areas that we are going to focus on as a commission, and those 5 areas will include looking at protection and human rights issues surrounding the Burkinabés who are within our borders. We will look at political and foreign implications for us as a country. We will also look at the rights of communities and local government as it relates to this particular issue. We will look at the environment. We will look at conservation and ecological issue as it relates to the Burkinabe scenario. We will also look at economic implications. These are thematic areas that we hope to discuss tomorrow in details. When it comes to protections and human rights issue, we as a country, as a government, we will look at how we can uphold the protections of these African brothers as it relates to the free movement within the ECOWAS region, and how we can determine their status after proper registration is done for them. So you will either register as a refugee in Liberia or as a migrant. So with the proper documentation, it can be determined what is their status. So tomorrow's program will look at all these cardinal issues. Like the director has said, we've invited top personalities from the government, from civil society, from national NGO, from international NGO, from the UN sector, as well as prominent Liberians in the diaspora to speak on major issues that we can all deliberate on and find common solution. At the end of the program tomorrow, we will come up with a resolution, a proper solution that can be forwarded to the President and the Cabinet for action. We hope that tomorrow's event will draw the curtain on the issue of the influx of Burkinabés into Liberia. They are African citizens. Over the past, Liberia had not taken major action because they were ECOWAS citizens. But with the development in January, we saw it necessary that now we need to get on our feet and then host this program to be able to properly document them, as Ghana and Sierra Leone and Cote d'Ivoire have done. And so with the backing of UNHCR, IOM, and the government of Liberia, we will then host this program tomorrow at the Pinkville City Hall. The media is invited tomorrow. As you have come today to the press briefing, we expect that you will be there tomorrow like this, so that you can also let Liberia know what has been discussed in the hall. We want to thank the government of Liberia through the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism for availing us this platform to be able to discuss this particular issue, and that key among people that will attend this particular event that we will look forward to is the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Honorable Gwemi Horace will be there. The Independent National Human Rights Commission, Councillor Winston Brown will also be there. The Ministry of Youth and Sports as it relates to young people and social issue will also be there. You will have the Executive Director of the Women NGO Secretary of Liberia will also attending the program. And then we will have media guru like Hassan Kewu and Anthony Bowen moderating these sections alongside other seasoned Liberian journalists who will also be there. You will have the Superintendent from NIMA, Honorable Paul Meaper Gono, Honorable Alex Grant from Kranjida will be there, Honorable Max Swegbe, the Superintendent of River G, and the Honorable Henry Cole, Superintendent of Maryland County will also be there. You will have prominent persons from the universities of Timberland also addressing us. The House Chair on Repatriation and Refugee, Romari Johnson, will be there. These are a few individuals who have vast knowledge on these issues who will also be there to address the panelists through sections that will make the event tomorrow. I want to thank you so much, and I'll turn the podium over to the director who will continue forward.
Yes, sure.
So, this voice of the guys from the LRRRC.
Thanks to the folks from the LRRRC for making their detailed presentation. As usual, we will now afford members of the press the opportunity to interact with the speakers, and I will follow the normal routine. Pamela, thank you. I will say 4 questions.
Thank you, Minister. Please come in the queue.